It's always great to see
You've
the
got it.
Greek
Beautiful.
Film Festival coming up October 19th to the 29th at Palace Cinemas. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to Leonidas Vlahakis, who is a member of the Greek Cultural Committee, to talk to me about this year's Greek Film Festival. Leonidas, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Thank you very much for your interest. Great to talk to you. Really looking forward to next month.
Excellent. And I always enjoy watching Greek films. And the first thing I want to ask you is, I get the feeling that the Greek film industry is now recovering from its economic issues and from COVID, and that more films are being produced.
Look, that's true. And what I find most heartening is that films are being co-produced. So this year we've got a Greek Spanish co-production, and we've got a Greek French co-production. Yeah.
Uh,
Look, there's no question that the Greek film industry. I don't think we can understand how poorly it's funded. To give you an indication, there was a friend of mine, Eleni Burtis, who produced a film and brought it out to our film festival a few years ago. She was getting interviewed, and the presenter said, "So what's the difference between the Australian film industry and the Greek film industry?" And it was about this time of year, and she said, "We've got a football grand final coming up next weekend, and to produce a 30-second ad costs you about $1.5 million, and that's the entire annual budget of the Greek Film Centre."
oh,
You know, we're looking at some films that might have cost $10,000 or $20,000 to produce. So it's basically, these budding young directors saying, "Look, I've got this film. Can you lend me a couple of $1,000 bucks? And if I make it back at the cinemas, great. If not," so it's a tough industry. But what that's meant is they've had to be, I think, really nuanced in their storytelling, in their sound work, in their lighting, and all that sort of stuff. So, you look at our opening night movie, which is Behind the Haystacks. It's not even the soundtrack; it's the sounds of nature in the background that I find more haunting than a really good plot line. Yeah.
uh-huh.
So these are the sort of things that we deal with the Greek Film Festival. Now we don't have the body of work that the Italians do, or
Mm.
the Spaniards do, or the French do. We know that. But considering what we're working with, this year is a really heartening program. Yeah.
Well, I've had a look at it. It's quite a wide selection of films, which is great to see.
Mm,
And obviously, you're choosing films that will appeal to a Greek audience, but also to an Australian audience.
correct. So I think it's really important that when you're part of a community group, the easiest thing to do is navel gaze and think, what's my target market? We don't see it that way. In everything that we do, we don't, yes, we say it's the Greek Film Festival, but what we want to portray to people is that it's a festival that happens to be Greek for the people of Melbourne. So there are a few movies that I could easily recommend to my friends, like the one with the Bryden and Coogan, A Trip to Greece.
Mm.
Yeah, so they've done it in Italy. They're doing the same thing in Greece. So, it's not a Greek production, but it's got Greek content, which is great.
Yep.
There's another one, the Greco-Spanish one, is called Window by the Sea,
Uh-huh.
and it is a beautiful tale that merges two cultures really respectfully. Um, there's another one called Listen to Me,
Hmm.
and it's to do with a deaf girl going back to her original town village, and how she gets treated in that, done really respectfully. There's probably one of my favorite ones is called God's Painting, and the plot line is beautiful, and it's got an unexpected twist in it. And these are films that I'll watch. I've seen these films, and I'll gladly watch them again and recommend them to my friends.
Fair
As well
enough.
as that, we we're commemorating the Holocaust with a couple of feature length films
I was going to ask you about
about
that.
that,
There's four
because
films.
Thessaloniki, of course, was
Yeah.
the yeah, absolutely, yep,
Yeah.
yep,
So,
yep, absolutely. Look, I think it's important. Unfortunately, this stuff, I don't think is taught enough in our respective cultures is how much of a role the Jewish culture played, especially in Thessaloniki, up until 80 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
It is, it is. And I just want
And
to
there's,
mention the
yeah,
the four films that cover Jewish themes: My People, Mauthausen, which of course was the concentration camp, Kisses to the
yes,
Children, and Cloudy Sunday.
yep. Cloudy Sunday in particular because it's got the soundtrack overlaid on top of it. And I don't mean this to sound macabre. It would be my pick of the four. But all four certainly handled it in a slightly different angle. And so they should, because what happened was horrific and we should never, ever forget.
Mm.
And if we can commemorate it with productions that are this sensitive and beautifully put together, then we're all for it. Absolutely.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's terrific stuff. I'll get you to talk about the opening night film. You briefly mentioned it, Behind the Haystacks, because it sounds very interesting.
And then, is that my connection?
Okay. Can you hear me?
That's better.
That's better. All right. Behind the Haystacks. Can you talk a bit about that opening night film?
If there's one thing that in Australia we find, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Look, if there's one thing that I know Australians find difficult to understand in their psyche, it's the concept of shared borders, because we've got one and it's called the ocean. Yeah. But Europe, of course, is this lovely sort of intertwining of cultures. And if you've seen maps that have seen borders changing over the years, and this deals with uh, people smugglers, basically, bringing people from our northern neighbours from North Macedonia and the consequences that it has. And it's setting the scene of the crisis. So you've got the Greek crisis, if you like, and overlaid on that, you've got the European crisis, and then you've got the global crisis. So it deals on a very personal level what happens when people are basically forced to do things that they would never do, let's say, if they were in an environment that was a little bit more stable and safe and nurturing as Australia. But these people are forced to do things that they wouldn't otherwise do, and the consequences could sometimes be really, really tragic.
Yeah.
And it's a story. It's one of these funny stories where there's no hero per se, but you can see everybody's point of view in a story that's really well put together. As I said, there's not much of a soundtrack, but overlaid on top of a really clever dialogue is this very natural sort of setting that's just really haunting. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So
Sounds
that's
good.
opening night.
It's opening
Closing
night.
night with closing night. Yeah, and closing night is it's called Two Tickets to Greece. It's the
Oh,
story
yes.
of two friends. It's a Greek-French co-production, and I found it charming because when French are involved, romantic language and all that sort of stuff. But that was great. So yeah, and for the first time, it's important to note. So we've got opening and closing at the Astor down the road in St Kilda. The rest of the festival will be at the Como,
Mm-hmm.
but for the first time, we're using Palace Cinemas in Baldwin as well.
Right. Which is a great cinema.
So there's a really good choice. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, it's
yes, you
beautiful.
have. Just a few more I want to talk about. I notice a multiple love
Sure.
story film called Purgatory.
I haven't seen that one yet. That's
Ah,
what. So let's understand. There are certain producers, and I certainly understand this point of view. There are certain producers who won't give us screeners.
aha.
They say, look, you can show it once. Unfortunately, so I can't give you too much about that.
That's all right.
It seems like an amazing plot, though. It seems like an amazing plot. So I don't know who thought about, this it's almost a medieval sort of a scene, isn't it? From
Mm.
what I can gather. But the fact that they're connecting, what is it, 5, 6, 7 stories all together, again, there's another one that I just have to go and see.
Yes. Well, there's quite a few to
Yeah,
see during the festival.
absolutely.
Look, that's fine. I'll just mention a few other films. Tell me if you've seen them and just talk about them briefly if you have. Iman is an interesting one from Cyprus.
That's right. I haven't. Again, they didn't give us a screening.
Uh-huh.
That apparently is an absolutely must see. Absolutely must see. And this is from people that I know from Cyprus that have seen it and have said, if you don't see any other film, have a go at that.
Okay.
So again, on my to do list.
Yes, no, it sounds very interesting. I'm hoping to catch up with a number of these during the festival. Silence 6 9 sounds also like an interesting drama.
Silence 6 to 9 is a fascinating concept. It's almost um, it surrounds it. Oh, how can I describe it? The vibe that I get is the same vibe that I got when I first watched A Handmaid's Tale.
Ah,
It's really eerie. It's a sort of a love story set in this really dystopian world where you're not allowed to make noise, and it's really well done in the sense that from just about the start there is a sense of unease that never gets quelled.
uh-huh.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
a great concept.
sounds good. And
But
and
again, we're talking about it. Yep.
yep, no, that's fine. And there's another film called Dignity, which sounds interesting too.
Uh, I haven't.
You haven't seen that
They
one?
didn't give us a trailer for that either.
Okay,
So I've got like half a dozen that I legitimately need to go and see.
right. Tell me another one that I haven't mentioned that you'd like to recommend that you haven't talked about so far.
Let's see what else we've got. So there was God's Painting, Mudhausen. Uh, Black Stone's an interesting one. I'm still trying to get my head around it. I think I'm going to have to. I'm going to go back and watch it again. It's a story about uh, a son's gone missing, and it's the job of, well, more the mum than the other brother, um, but it's an interesting one. So there's it's one of the few ones that have a Greek African taxi driver as one of the central characters who plays the role really well, um, and it's just this. It feels like in the movie Black Stone, there's this sort of wave coming up um, of this seemingly pretty clean-skinned man who might well have a past that nobody else, not even his mother, not even his brother, are aware of. So yeah, that's a really interesting one. And I don't know this director. I haven't seen any of his work before, so it's a good one.
Okay, okay. Well,
But
look,
again, as we said before,
yep,
really low budget film. You know, just walking through the streets of Athens. There's no set or anything like that, but a really entertaining watch.
yes. Well, for me, it's always about the story. That's more important for me than than a budget of a film. So, okay, it sounds like a very
Correct.
interesting group of films that you've got. Now, let's talk about how people can book tickets, the website, all
Mm,
that sort of thing.
sure, greekfilmfestival.com.au. But on a personal level, if you need any tickets, you let me know and we'll organise something for you because I really appreciate your support. It means a lot.
Oh, I'm already organising that, so that's fine. Thank you for that. But but it's October 19th to the 29th.
The 29th. Yep.
Yes, beginning and ending at the Astor and in between at Palace, Baldwin and
Yep.
Como cinemas. Um, I gather,
Correct.
have you been following the career of Yorgos Lanthimos, the fantastic Greek filmmaker
Oh,
who's
he's, he's,
marvelous
he's got to
films?
be. Look, oh, they're incredible. They're incredible films that initially you think, where's he going with this? You know, when I first saw L,
Oh, yes.
I think it was just L. And you start again. This is what I love about European cinema. In a lot of movies, there's no good and bad guys. Um, there might be the odd anti-hero once in a while, but mostly it's just, let me tell you a story. Let's go on a journey, you and me.
Okay.
And Lanthimos always takes us on that. There was L, and there was, what was the name of the movie where it started? Colin Farrell.
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
you had
yes.
30 days to find your partner, otherwise you
Lobster,
got turned
I
into an
think.
animal of your choosing.
Yes, I think Lobster was in the title or something like that.
Lobster, that's right.
Yes.
Yes. So we always, whenever we get one of his films, we're always very, very keen to promote it because it's always a fascinating angle.
Yes. I still remember his film Dogtooth, which is the most remarkable
Dogtooth,
film.
Dogtooth was one of the best films I think we've ever showed. That would have had to have been 20 years ago,
It may not be
maybe
that
less,
long, but
15,
it's certainly a while back. Yes, I remember when I saw it
maybe
in a.
15.
Yes, I saw it in the cinema with a Greek audience, and I had people all around me saying, "What is this crap all about?"
it's pretty in your face. It's pretty in your face, that movie. So it's not, look, it's not one that I take my parents and my aunties and uncles to see.
Yeah, sure.
But certainly I'd take my little sister because she's into that sort of stuff, and that's fine.
Yes. And I noticed his latest film, Poor Thing, I think it's called, with Emma Stone, just premiered at
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
at Venice, I think, Venice or Toronto, one of those film festivals just now.
What what amazes me is how he manages to get all these really big names
Yeah.
to act in his movies. Like Emma Stone obviously doesn't need the money or the accolades. I think part of it is they just see something that's so different.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, the Lobster, Alps was another one. Um, there was my best friend or something like that.
Yes.
Something like that. But yeah, look, this is a bloke who is clearly he's found himself a really special little niche market, hasn't he?
Yes. And
I'd
proudly
love I'd
Greek.
love to meet him and just work. Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
I'd love to meet him and just say, "Tell me what's going on in your head. I want to know."
Sounds good. Now, quick question. I remember over the last few years, some of the films at the Greek Film Festival were not subtitled. Is that the case
We
this
always
year?
make. There are a couple that I don't think are,
Ah,
and that will be in the program. Absolutely,
okay.
absolutely. So, and I think that's fair enough. And I think don't Palace have a don't they have an agreement that if you walk out within, I think, 10 or 15 minutes of opening, I think you get your money back. I think
Possibly right. Yes, I think you're right. But
it's happening. It's look,
yeah,
it's happened in a couple of instances where certainly the content is not what people have been led to believe, and they've sort of
yes.
gone out and said, "Look, this wasn't in the deal," and I think
Okay,
that's fair enough as well. We'll always try and make people happy.
sure. But I know pretty much most of the films we've been speaking about, they're all
Yeah,
subtitled. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
terrific. All right, Leonidas. Well, look, congratulations on being part of the committee to get the Greek Film Festival off and running again this year. So well done on that.
Thank, thank you very much for your interest. And if you see me at the seminar, please come up and say hello.
I will. I will definitely do that. Leonidas Vlahakis, part of the Greek Cultural Committee and this year's Greek Film Festival at Palace Cinemas, October 19th to the 29th. Thank you so much for talking with me.
Really appreciate it and hope to see you soon.
Okay, no worries at all. Thanks a lot, Leonidas. All the best. Bye bye.